What is good? I mean, what is really good, my people? It is your UK Trotter Brother, Dr. Blake, the darkest man around, and I'm here with DFree, Rhymestyle, and Mark from Real to Real. Say hi to people, whoever wants to go first.
Hi to the
Hey guys.
And today,
Mark just has the regular intro.
And today we're going to be talking about Gohan and the possible return of Gohan instead of future Trunks, because Gohan is a guy that we've seen train, and it would be more of a realistic approach for Gohan to return. So DFree, what do you think about Gohan returning instead of Gohan, or would you think it's more of a realistic option than Gohan?
Oh, so Gohan instead of Trunks.
Yeah, Gohan
You
instead of
kinda
Trunks.
threw me off for a second
Everyone's
there.
like, future Trunks coming back. Nah.
No, so like the thing about that is that when you look at Gohan's character, they basically, like what, 9 episodes ago, they made it a point to establish that he wanted to get back to training, and throughout the Resurrection F arc, that was a huge theme for him. He was like, fuck, if I had been training, this wouldn't be happening. If I was training, I'd be stronger. You know, that was a huge theme for him, and that was something that wasn't present in the movie that they adapted. So basically from there, you know, they say, okay, let's go ahead and train. And we even see him training for like 30 seconds or whatever. And then it turns out, yeah, he can't participate again. And then it turns into they basically removed him entirely from this arc, okay? They haven't even shown him since then. So that being said, I think that when you look at the Toriyama interview, I feel like you can kind of interpret it a couple different ways. Because you can look at it as saying, okay, somebody related to the future. Well, that could mean that somebody that has come into the series before from the future, i.e. like a Cell, a Trunks, or maybe somebody new like a Toa, a Mira, or a character that we're already established with that's a fan favorite that has an interesting future going forward. And the problem with that is that when you look at Trunks from his perspective, if they introduce Trunks back into the series, you're gonna say, okay, how are we going to weave a story around this guy? Because you have to factor in the fact that now these guys are stronger. Now they're Super Saiyan gods or Super Saiyan blues, you know what I'm saying? So he's not really going to be relevant. He's not going to be strong enough to be relevant unless he's a bystander. I mean, you can kind of go the Xenoverse route with it, where he's a time patroller, and if you do it properly, it can make a lot of sense. But I feel like you have the least margin of error if you stick with Gohan, who is already a fan favorite, who is one of the most popular characters on the show. And as a Gohan fan myself, it does pain a lot of people, and myself included, to see him kind of just being bitchified, you know? So that's just basically my stance.
I agree with everything you said about Gohan being bitchified and being a big fan favorite to a lot of people, I'm on the side of the whole future Trunks comeback, only because there's a part of the interview that also was revealed where Toriyama talked about Gohan. And he said that one of the things that he loved the most is seeing his own character turn into this person who grows up and doesn't want to fight and wants to focus on studying instead of fighting.
Yeah, I love that aspect of Gohan.
By him saying that, he's kind of reiterating the fact that Gohan is not a warrior anymore. And even though the anime did talk about bringing Gohan back as a fighter again, which is why he's training, I feel like that Toriyama's just going to stick to the whole idea of him being a family man, which is why he's not even at the tournament watching the biggest universe tournament of all time, and he's at a conference. So that's how I feel about that. But as far as the whole Trunks thing, the fact that he says it's the story of a future, or like quotes of future was in quotes. Plot twist, future is actually going to be the one who's going to show up in the series from future. Now, future, I can always think that it has to be future Trunks. And on top of that, they reiterated again by saying it's a very popular character. So that's the other thing that makes me really believe that's going to be him. But the other thing is, if they do bring Trunks into the story, there's a lot of stories you can do with that to kind of add on to his strength. Because like if he does indeed become a time patroller in that universe, then that means he is in a place where he could literally be a time patroller for the rest of his life, from the way I assume it works, because time doesn't really move. And for all we know, he could have spent the next 1,000 years as a time patroller. So when they introduce him to the story, he could be just as strong as everybody else. On top of that, everybody loves Trunks. The only thing I don't want to happen is, let's be real here, but Trunks, as awesome as he is, he becomes a big bitch, especially in Xenoverse. So if they do bring Trunks back, I hope they don't give us that Trunks. I wish they'd give us a different Trunks that first remind us of the first time we saw this bowl cut Saiyan show up and slice out Frieza, because that was badass. I want that Trunks to come back. I don't want the Xenoverse Trunks who will just basically you hanging back, watching you do all the work and then taking credit for it, because he is just that guy. But I'm sticking with the idea that it's going to be Trunks, if anybody. Although I would love Gohan. I would say this. I would love to see Gohan come back. I just feel like based on how Toriyama's setting it up and the fact that he himself said he loves that Gohan's become a bookworm, I feel like it won't be him.
I feel like when you talk about Gohan and Trunks, when it comes to like a future character that everyone really loves in Dragon Ball Super actually getting their moment or do something that would really please the fans, I kind of have to disagree with both. I disagree with Gohan because one thing, if we bring back Gohan to be like a main character in this story, I feel like he will be stepping on Vegeta's toes a lot. One thing we've seen in Dragon Ball Super is Vegeta actually going way out of his way, or the series going way out of its way to give Vegeta a whole lot of character development. Either either him like becoming just as strong as Goku, or like his relationship with both Trunks and Bulma at this point, like way more than we've ever seen in Z. I know Donnie has actually talked about that a whole lot. And I feel like if they bring Gohan back into that, Gohan's already so much of a family man, and if they make him want to get stronger or just as strong as Goku was, be like the second tier character again, like he was in Dragon Ball Z, that will take away almost everything that we saw with Vegeta and basically half the show at this point. And when we go into Trunks is one of these characters, I feel like Dino said, like it's one of these characters that when you look at him, he's like, okay, well, yeah, he was a kind of a bitch, and like, how can he actually become stronger? I do like the idea of bringing back the Time Patrol and everything, but I honestly don't want Trunks to come back. Personally, if we're thinking about a character that, like a future of a very popular character that we're not really thinking about will be that much important or huge in the series, I would actually go with Vegeta, because Vegeta's been someone who has, while he has had a lot of screen time during the series, he hasn't done much of anything important. He hasn't beaten anyone in particular that's been big. I mean, he took out Tagoma, who is basically Ginyu, so he took out the entire Ginyu force. He never beat Majin Buu, he never beat Cell, he never beat anything. But if Vegeta kind of comes from the back and they take away his little Worf effect thing and he actually becomes like the hero at the very end of the story, I think that would be really interesting to see.
I can actually see what you're trying to say, and I can agree with what everyone said here. But the thing about it is, I feel like Gohan can still be a bookworm. But what we've noticed about Gohan, he only fights when he needs to fight. If he's backed against the wall, and the fact that they showed him training, and this goes back to when they released like Battle of Gods, when they hinted about the 6 universes. They ended up when they hinted about the universe, they ended up showing us the universes like later down the line. So I feel like with them showing Gohan training, if he doesn't do anything, that whole him training was just pointless, and it was just stupid for the whole fact of that, if you know what I mean.
Well, I can also say that, you know, you're right in a sense, but let's be completely honest here. Dragon Ball Super has shown things and alluded to things that we never got context for, or they explained. There's just been so many different instances in this show where it's like, okay, we'll show them this, but we never get an explanation. Like, for example, just one that we kind of all were kind of interested in, that God Staff Chamber. We never really got any context with that. They were like, okay, they're in there. How much time passed in there? How does time pass while they're in there? They never bring up this stuff, and we don't get context. So in that same vein, they could say Gohan's training, okay, cool. That's just like a nice nod to the fans, but they don't bring it up again. But I think Gohan would be an interesting character. I do love the development of Gohan. I love it. I love everything about Gohan's character. I think a lot of people kind of don't really understand that fact that he's not really a fighter. He never wanted to be a fighter. He was forced into fighting. The first thing he ever said in the series was, I want to be a scholar. And that's just kind of how he is and how he's progressed. I'm happy for the guy. He accomplished his dream. You know, that's what he wanted to do. So
here's a
kudos
question
to the
I have
guy.
for everybody after you finish that.
No, you might as well say that.
Okay. Well, what I was going to say is, while you were talking, I looked up Toyotaro's favorite character, and he did say this certain somebody is his favorite character. And I just realized, what if this interview is a huge troll? Because Toyotaro's favorite character is Goku. So what if the future of a certain somebody is just Goku going to another universe fighting more people? Because remember, at the end of the day, Goku's always going to be the hero. He is always going to get the W here. Characters like Vegeta and everybody else kind of get dick. Gohan becomes a scholar. Vegeta always like becomes a badass, but then he ultimately loses in the end. What if this entire thing to talk about is just Goku again going to another story? Because remember, it is about him getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and ultimately one day we'll
and that's
probably
what
get
I
to
said.
the point where he'll surpass Beerus and Whis. So what if this entire interview is just a troll altogether?
That would make me cry, because Toriyama gave us the middle finger again.
It's happened too many times. That's what I said, though.
With Dragon Ball Super, everyone's like, oh, when's Monaka gonna fight? When's Monaka gonna fight? And then we get the spoilers, and it's like,
I feel like when we look at Goku, if he's actually going to be the one and it's just a huge troll and Goku's always going to take the win, I honestly think if that's the case, this series might just be really going downhill. Hopefully not. I really hope that they are telling the truth and there's going to be someone who at least gets some spotlight. Even if Goku comes out and gets the win at the end of the day, like, they need to actually give someone a little bit more of a push, whether it's Vegeta, Gohan, Trunks, or anyone else.
That's why I love Beerus so much, because when they introduced Beerus and Whis, this is the first time in the series that it hasn't been all about Goku and Vegeta. So Beerus and Whis being there, I kind of like the balance there, so it's not all about Goku. So that's what I like about them.
But I'll go, like, the only problem I have with Trunks coming back is that they they either have to make him stronger or pinch some ideas from the games. And I don't mind them using the ideas for the games, but it can be seen as them being lazy, if you know what I mean. Like, getting ideas from a game and
something
like
I want to toss out there. Something
Well,
I
you
want
have
to toss
to-
that a lot of people don't know. Toriyama actually assisted in writing the story to Dragon Ball Online, which he.
Damn
You're
it,
about to say
Dino.
that, yeah.
I was about to say that.
Usually when it comes down to the games, it's supposed to be the publishers, developers, whatever, who worked on the stories. I mean, most of the time it was the same story over and over again. But anytime there was an extra story like Ozato and stuff like that, it hasn't been done by Toriyama. But Dragon Ball Online was the first time where he had full creative control over what he wanted to do. So another reason why I feel like we might go into the whole Xenoverse Time Patrol thing is because that technically is Toriyama's story, just never the canon side of the world. So for all we know, he might be trying to canonize that to kind of like, you know, expand upon what he started a long time ago.
Well, when it comes to actually trying to reintroduce Trunks, the one thing I really like is that we understand that Trunks' timeline is not exactly the one that we saw through Z and Super. So it actually makes sense that, like, Beerus actually never came and he actually met the Supreme Kai of Time and actually did all this stuff that's completely, they wouldn't have ever met in this timeline, but in Trunks' timeline it's completely possible, and now he's a time patroller. I would actually really appreciate that, and if they introduce any of that, then we're probably going to get Toa and Mira, which I'm all for in Super. I wanted that in Super at the very beginning. I thought that's where they were going when they first announced it, but of course they didn't actually do that. So that would be really badass. I would actually really like Trunks coming back if we actually get those 4 other characters or 3 other characters at the same time.
The only problem I have with Trunks coming back is that people, like, Trunks is a very hyped character. Like, if he comes back, I don't feel like he's gonna reach people's expectations, gonna let everyone down, depending on how they bring him back. And some people are gonna be thinking that he's gonna come back and he's gonna be on the same level as Goku and Vegeta. Because like you said, Rhymestyle, it's going to be just mainly Goku finishing them off. Vegeta will get a couple of hits in, warm the person up for Goku to finish them off. But at the end of the day, Goku is going to be that guy to take the glory as he usually does. If Gohan comes back, that would be amazing. I'll be so happy because Gohan is my favorite character. But I still feel like Gohan still has more to develop because he's a family man. He's got a daughter now. Like, there's still a lot that he can offer to the series if they want to bring him back.
I kind of agree and disagree, and it's only because now, as I look at all these characters in the Dragon Ball world, everybody is unique in a certain way. You have Goten and Trunks, who make Gotenks, who is this badass Fuse character, and basically is the only way to keep Fusion alive. You have Goku and Vegeta, who are basically like the main characters who always win the fights. You have Gohan, who is the complete opposite. He's a family man, as I forgot who said it earlier in the video. He's a family man. He's all about, like, you know, doing something completely different. And then introducing Trunks again as like a time patrol would be badass, because at that point you have literally everybody who has something that's unique to them. And that's why I would rather them keep Gohan as who they are. As much as it hurts me to say this, he will be different than everybody else. Because at the end of the day, if you keep Gohan as a warrior, he will never one-up Goku. He will never one-up Vegeta. He'll never one-up anybody else in the squad. He'll just be that other guy that people know exists and does badass stuff every now and then, but ultimately he'll be like 3rd place, if that makes sense. So what I like about how the character development is with every single character is everybody's different and unique in their own way. Whether we love it or hate it, that's just how it is. And that's like the beauty of the characters in the Dragon Ball world. Everybody's important in their own way.
Yeah.
Agree.
Nah, but if Toriyama did troll us, it's like, yeah, Goku's the future, bro. I would literally cry.
Literally. Yeah.
No, you know there are gonna be people out there that's like, yeah, Toriyama said it was Goku. Like in the comments.
Well, no, and that's kind of what I said in the beginning of the video. It was like, well, you can kind of interpret it a few different kinds of ways. You could say, well, a future of a character that's pre-established, or the return of a character related to the future. So the same Goku falls into the same bubble as Gohan.
But I do want to note that Totaro said his favorite character is Goku. But in this actual interview, he said this is a character that Toriyama was talking about that he's a huge fan of. So it's not necessarily his favorite character that Toriyama was talking about. I just want to toss it out there just in case they were possibly trolling us. But I mean, we know one thing: it's the future of a character that already exists. We know that much. We can probably confirm that. As far as who else is going to be introduced in the story later, we don't really know. They will speak of the whole, white thing where it is like a whitish character, which made me think that was Mira. So I mean, a lot of stuff in his interview points to the whole Xenoverse world. I mean, Mira has white hair, and initially he didn't want to make Super Saiyan Blue white because he didn't want the white hair to clash with the next enemy. So it makes sense to what they would do if they follow the whole Xenoverse path, because Mira essentially has a Super Mira form, which is kind of like a Super Saiyan version of himself, but with white hair. So that's the other thing I was thinking about. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm excited regardless. I'm not going to judge any of this stuff until I watch it myself. Like, I know once the news hits and reveals what the story's about, people are going to complain, people are going to love it, everyone's going to react to it. But I'm just going to sit there and watch and wait for it to come out so I can see it for myself before I freak out myself. But either way, I'm excited for Super not to be ending. That's the most important thing about this interview.
Exactly.
I got one last question for all of you. If Gohan was to come back, how would he, do you feel like it would need to be a Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, or Super Saiyan Blue to be useful?
Well, the same, and this is what I was bringing up earlier, the same can be kind of said about Trunks. I mean, unless you're going to have them be bystanders or do something else on the side and kind of be, the filler Z Warriors, as I like to call them, like the Trunks, the Piccolos, all these other guys that are integral to the story and they're doing other things, but they're not the main fighters, then no, they don't need to be. If they're not going to engage in any action or anything like that, then there's no reason for them to get a power-up. I mean, like, for Trunks' perspective, I would love to see him get a power-up if he's going to fight. But if he's going to come in, they're going to do the Xenoverse plot, and they're going to do what Dino doesn't want. They're going to give you the Xenoverse Trunks, where it's like, okay, let's go to this time period. Let's go to this universe.
Remember, Dragon Ball Line and Dragon Ball Xenoverse are two different stories. They were same basic assets, but the way they told a story in Xenoverse and Dragon Ball Line were completely different. So if they do the whole Xenoverse story, it doesn't necessarily mean that they'll follow the same path that we saw in Xenoverse. For all we know, it's going to be completely different, and it gives us a whole chance to see a different side of what the whole time patrol aspect could have been. Because for all we know is maybe Toriyama played Xenoverse, just didn't like it, and decided, you know what, I'm going to show them how the story's supposed to be.
Like I said, I would actually agree that I think if Gohan comes back, he's going to need to get some significant power-up. And the problem with that is, I know a lot of people have talked about this, where I think Dino said this at the very beginning of the video or sometime. He said that, so Goten and Trunks have their fusion, they have their Super Saiyan ability. Gohan has his mystic form, Goku and Vegeta have their god forms. Everyone has their own basic thing. If Gohan gets a god form, his mystic form and everything becomes less meaningful. And then actually getting Trunks, though, is really cool, because it's not actually getting Trunks, and he doesn't necessarily need to be powerful. He just has that time patrol thing. But like I said earlier, he comes with the other people. They're not going to introduce Trunks, in my opinion, they're not going to introduce Trunks without the Supreme Kai of Time and Toa and Mira. And that's really interesting, and that's something to look forward to in Dragon Ball Super.
I agree with Mark, because at this point, I think the only people that are going to be like on Goku's level or above Goku's level are the gods of destruction, or the people that are associated with that bracket. Other than that, I do not see Trunks coming back and being a fight. I don't see him coming back the same way he came back the first time, if you know what I mean. But as a whole, if Trunks does come back, I'll welcome him. But I like Rhymestyle, I do not want the Xenoverse Trunks, that Trunks yo, let's fight, and he just stands there, watch everything happen, watch you get beaten up. Nah.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying, is if they do the Xenoverse Dragon Ball Online thing where they bring in all these characters, Trunks isn't going to be a fighter unless he gets stronger.
Yeah.
So he's going to do the same thing. He's going to sit there and say, hey, Goku, this guy's Mira. Go kick his
No, he's just going to scream, Father! You don't know what you're doing! You're going to ruin the future!
He comes in with his sword, and they just break the sword.
And then Tapion's going to be a thing.
All right, wrap it up, Blake.
Okay, so this has been the video with DFree, Rhymestyle. I'm Mark from Real to Real. Check out their channels. It will be in the description below. I highly recommend it. And yeah, let me just wrap up this video. So, please comment and subscribe. I know I say this all the time, but at the end of the day, I'm just saying. Please leave a like, rating if you enjoyed this video. Yeah, catch you next one, guys. Bye.
Peace.
Work.